Good evening, good morning, wherever you are right now. So I see quite a few people and a few familiar faces. So don't be shy. I might call on you, and it's a totally safe environment. No judgment. It's just a test run as an investor. So you can make mistakes here. There's no questions that are too stupid. There's no such thing. The point is you're participating today, and I do hope you bring something back. So if there's anything I said, it might be something you have already heard in the past. Regardless, if you just need a refresher or something that resonates with you, make sure you have pen and paper and write everything down. Good to see everybody. So if you have a question and it stopped you from learning anything else, if you have a question that's urgent or you do want to be answered, then make sure you unmute yourself or wave. Or if I didn't see you and kept going, I'll make sure I will stay till the very end to answer all the questions. And because today's topic is how to replace your income without quitting your job. So I do want to see a show of hand, a little participation to get us started. How many of you are still working right now? You still have a job? Ronald, and me too, and Winnie, and Tim. Aileen, okay, perfect. And do you believe that you don't have to quit your job as long as you learn how to do things efficiently and effectively? Yes? Okay, it's okay if you're saying no right now. I do hope by the end of the webinar today, you'll see that it is possible, it can be done, and some of us have already done it. And it's totally okay too if you want to fire your boss and quit your job. So it's up to you. Really, I think financial freedom is about having that choice, whatever you want to do. And thank you for choosing to spend your time here today. I know that some of us just came back from work and you do have to take care of your kids like Winnie and Kevin here, and me too. At the same time, you decided to spend your time here because you want to invest in yourself. So I do want to applaud you for that. At the same time, a little disclaimer here, because I know we want to share our experience as an investor. So I will share the slides so you can read the fine print. There's nothing I'm hiding here. And I do want to remind you that you're wearing the hat as an investor. So yes, we're going to talk about legal terms. We're going to talk about how to protect yourself. And that is part of being an investor. At the same time, I'm not here to be a financial planner to you, even though my goal is for you to see what you can achieve as an investor. And I know there's so many things in life, your health, your mental health, your spiritual health, etc. At least, I do hope you don't have to worry about your financial health by the end of the training with Trust Your Talent. And we focus a lot on how to get you there, not just collecting properties for one thing. At the same time, you're not a one-man show. So we talked about win-win. We're going to talk about how to share wealth. So if you do not want to quit your job and still want to have that extra income, you'll be able to do that. I purposely picked the topic of not having to quit your job. Because if your financial goal is to replace your income, whatever the reason is, I do want to learn why you're here. You can speak to your strategy coaches, or you can speak to one of us if you already have a mentor, if you're already part of the community. However, if you have the ability to replace your income without quitting your job, in another word, you easily doubled your income once you reach that goal. How many of you are getting a 100% increase? I know a lot of us still have our job. Let's be honest, how often do you get a 100% increase? No. What about a 50% increase in your pay? So I'm totally for, if you love your job, if you want to give back, if it's something you're really good at, there's nothing wrong with still having a job. However, if you have the ability to replace that income, even when you're sick, even if something happens, even if the industries change, I know a lot of people are talking about AI today. Even if that's the case, you still have the ability to do what you love and spend the time with people that you love. And if you choose to quit your job or continue to work. Regardless, you have that choice and you don't have to quit your job. I know a lot of people are thinking, well, if I want to do this, I might have to do this full time. What if you can do this part time to start? I don't mean that you're not learning, you're not putting in the effort to learn about how to analyze a deal. I'm talking about learn to do it right and do it efficiently. So of all the Power Team members I listed here, financial planners, accountants, tax advisors, lawyers, there's also contractors, whoever will help you along the way, perhaps even contractors, electricians, etc. And by the way, can anybody else give me one more Power Team member? You should have your Power Team. You should have on your Power Team. So I want to recognize that we have Josh also logged in. We have John Grant that just logged in. So by show of hand, if you can give me one more example as to who should be on your Power Team here that I haven't listed as your Power Team member to help you as an investor. Ronald, since you're the first on my screen.
Mortgage broker?
There you go. So mortgage brokers, and I'll add one more. Us as your mentor, we're also there to check your blind spot. So we put a lot of emphasis on that. You'll see why as we go. We're here as educated and professional and seasoned investors. We work with professionals. I do not have all the licenses. And that's why we need to leverage other people's, we talked about OPM. I want you to now think about OPT, leverage other people's time, like you're leveraging my time here right now. Leverage your lawyer's time, leverage your accountant's time, and leverage other people's expertise, experiences. So I also mentioned that us as mentors, we just walk the walk and talk the talk. We just started before you did. We follow the same path, the same system. We all sat in your seat just a few years ago. Just like Winnie, like Kevin, like John, and Ronald, who are already students in the community. So this is the most powerful positions to be in, to understand how to leverage other people's resources. And I put that Chinese saying there. Basically, it's saying you don't have to be the smartest person as long as you understand how to leverage other people's ability to plan, ability to have the strength and be strong. And even if you're scared, you can leverage other people's courage. And I do hope Trust Your Talent is the community you're going to lean on and leverage everybody's power. And what's different about us is we're being really honest here. All the students are being really vulnerable, sharing our whys, our goals in the community. And even show up to support us, to support the new students. And this is the power of a mentor. I do want to share this with you. If this is your first time with us, this is just the beginning. So after the webinar today, the next step is to be in the live workshop. So you'll see how you can leverage different strategies. Today, I will show you one strategy and to show you how different strategies can help you reach your financial goals. I want to provide as much as I can while you're with me for the next 90 minutes to 2 hours. I do ask for one thing. You focus and invest in your time here with me. I don't mind if you have to have dinner right now, and I know perhaps you have to take care of your kids. I know life still happens while we're investing in ourselves. So I do appreciate that. And I always recognize people who have their cameras on. And even for myself, I feel really shy in the beginning, and even sometimes today. I felt shy to have my cameras on. So one of the things you can do is to participate, have your cameras on, so you're part of the webinars today. Participate and focus like this little dude here. I love him. And take notes. And because I get that, you feel like you're investing your time. And put in the gratitude journal today. Thank yourself for spending the time here. By the way, I will share my why, my goal, my purpose with you. And I always appreciate the opportunity to help other people. And if I have the honor to start your journey with you, I will put that in my own gratitude journal as well. And do recognize that you do have to take action. The acquisition of knowledge brings satisfaction. So if you're just learning today, start the acquisition of knowledge. That's the first step. Really, I do want you to apply the knowledge. And once you have the ability to help other people and create win-win situations and deals, you'll see how fulfilling it is. And at the same time, I think everybody is thinking about once you reach financial freedom or whatever your financial goals are, what are you going to do beyond that point? And I do think that you'll start to think about fulfillment, how you can make an impact. Either it's in the community or people around you or even your family, your kids. So by participating, by reading and seeing, by participating, you're already reaching 70% of the learning. And really, I want to take you to the next level. So if you learn anything today, if it's something new, you can practice teaching the same thing to your friends, your family. Perhaps you already have business partners of whatever you've already learned today. And even for me as well, every time I teach, it's always something new. And I learn about how you react. If I couldn't make everybody understand what I'm saying, then it's on me. Ask me any questions and call to action. Reach out to Winnie, to Kevin, to myself if you want the slides. And if you have any questions, you can do that much to make sure you learn as much as you could today. And also write down whatever quotes, or perhaps you just want to practice the numbers. That's actually the beginning of your journey of being an investor. And really, it feels like you're getting pushed. That's at least how I felt in the beginning. A lot of learning. Sometimes we feel like we're drinking from hose. However, you're really growing. And it's never easy. The concept is not that hard. I can guarantee you, if you have grade 8 or grade 9 math, you can run the numbers when you look at different deals. And when you want to get into different deals, at the same time, sometimes we have doubts. And perhaps you still don't see step by step how it's done. Today, my goal is to help you see how investors think, the mindset behind it. It's never easy. I'm not saying you're never gonna encounter any difficulties. However, it's really about training your muscles and having the ability to still sustain and persist even when things are not easy. By the way, if it's easy, everybody will do it. And when everybody gets in the market, the biggest complaint I heard is then there's no deals for me. And that's what sets you apart as an investor. And I do hope you acquire that knowledge. By the way, you might realize that it's not 100% on the chart. That 10% to reach your full learning experience is to have fun. And I do want to quote my favorite, for me, as inspirational speaker is Oprah. So you will never remember every single thing you learn. I understand that. However, you will always remember how you feel. You will remember your grade 2 teacher, not because what you learned at that time. You'll remember how that feels. So I do want you to have fun, so that way you remember what you learned today. And remember how you started your journey with me and with Trust Your Talent today. So I do want to get you started by thinking about your own finances. And I keep updating the information because yes, it is getting more and more expensive in different cities, especially if you're in metropolitan areas like BC, Vancouver, like in Toronto. And now even Calgary is getting more and more expensive. That's how most people plan their retirement. You can Google this. You can talk to your financial planners if you already have one in one of the major banks. They use the 4% rule, meaning that you're looking at a 4% return when you retire. So if you're looking at, say, $75,000 a year to live on when you retire. I use that number because in a lot of major cities or provinces, that's what people on average require to cover their basic expenses. So if you don't have the ability or learn how to invest and you depend on that 4% of return when you invest in mutual funds or GICs, however, GIC today is not even 4%. Anybody can tell me what is the GIC interest rate today? Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess. Carmen, do you know what the GIC interest rate is today? 2%? Well, thank you for the guess. Josh, do you know what it is? Take a wild guess.
I was going to say 2% as well.
Yeah. So below 2%, so between 1 and 2%. It's not even 4% if you just want to be completely safe. And interest rate is always above 1 or 2%, meaning that if that's what you depend on, you're actually depreciating your wealth by doing that. So if we get a little bit more aggressive, if you're looking at 4% of return, you have to have lazy money, $1.9 million sitting there earning 4%. If you're a little bit more aggressive, if you invest in mutual funds and that brings you, say, 6%, I'm even being optimistic because I'm not predicting what it is like to be in the mutual fund market today. However, on average, Canadians' net worth is about $300,000. So we're not even there. The median after tax income is $75,000. And basically, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. And that's why I use the number 75,000, divide that by 4% based on StatsCan's data. Aileen, do you have a question or you want to participate?
Yes, a question. All right. So with the 4% rule, how much I need now? Am I investing 75,000 at 4% to gain 1.8? Is that what it is? If you can explain the calculation.
No problem. So thank you for bringing up that question. Basically, it's saying that you need $1.875 million times 4%. So 1.9 million times 4%. That gives you $75,000. So what I'm doing is I'm working it backwards. If you want to be an average Canadian, that's the StatsCan data. Average median after-tax income is $75,000. So if you can make 4% of return, you need 1.9 million just sitting there and making you that 4% per year in order to cover your expenses.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So I'm just explaining it backwards. So if you want to have $75,000 to spend when you retire, you have to have 1.9 just sitting there. However, is that enough? Also, most people, so 90% of the population are spending every dollar they're making, meaning that they're not even having an extra dollar to invest and accumulate and sitting there having lazy money, $1.9 million to make that $75,000 a year. So I'm just giving you some data and some facts. What if you have the ability to make a little bit more? And on top of that, a quarter of Canadians are not able to cover an unexpected expenses, which means that when the interest rate went up, a lot of people, by the way, my mortgage went up more than a couple $1,000s. So if your mortgage went up by $500 in the past 6 months, the past year, a lot of people are not able to cover the expenses. What if you have the ability to make 20% of return? So again, I'm working it backwards. If average Canadian, if you're able to have $375,000 of lazy money, making you 20%, if you learn how to do that, then that's all you need, $375,000, making you 20% a year to cover your basic expenses in Canada. Okay, so to work the math backwards, 375 times 20%, that gives you $75,000. Okay, so if you want to make 75,000 and your return is 20%, I'm just flipping the equation. You only need 375,000. And this is what we're looking at. What's even better is that, as I mentioned before, we're here to share the wealth, to share the knowledge. And my superpower, by the way, at this point, is that I don't have fear for money. So I trust your talent. When we reach financial freedom, we want to share that. If you ask me how to serve, etc., that's my superpower. And I do want everybody to have that freedom. Like I mentioned, there's other things to worry about in life. If you take finances off the plate, I'm sure you have the ability, the extra resources. I'm talking about mental power, and you don't have to worry about things. That's why I want to share the wealth. Not just me sharing my knowledge. Also, if you're thinking about sharing the wealth, perhaps you don't even have the capital to start, which is perfectly fine. We'll show you how to find money. At the same time, if you're able to find a deal, to analyze a deal, good deals are found, but great deals are created. If you're able to create an amazing deal, even if you're not taking 100% of the profit, even if you don't have the money to start, what if you put in the work, sweat equity to start? 50-50. So if we work that backwards, by the way, everybody's goal is different. If you want to have a better life and have $20,000 per month, so $240,000 a year, just go through the numbers with me. I know that you might have different numbers, same way of analyzing the numbers and the deals. So if you have one deal that's making you $1,000, if you want $20,000, find 20 deals or learn how to have a better return. So in this case, we're sharing the wealth, $20,000, and your partners in a lot of cases, sharing the other half, which means that you have $240,000 a year, but in total, you're creating $480,000 a year of wealth. You share half of that. Same way as how we calculated how much capital you will need. So 480, divide that by 20%. If you're able to generate 20% of ROI, that's return on investment. If you're not familiar with the term yet, ROI stands for return on investment. So 480,000, divide that by 20%. You're getting 240, and you're sharing the wealth. Your partner or partners are getting 240 as well, which means that you need to raise $2.4 million in order to do that. And once you start to be part of the community, you'll understand that deals will follow, money will follow great deals. So don't worry about not finding the money. As soon as and when you're able to create and find the deals, this is how we share the wealth. Okay, so when you're starting, perhaps you're thinking, okay, I'll just start with $10,000 a month or even $5,000 a month. By the way, I usually start from $5,000 when I go through passive income per month and replace some of perhaps your basic expenses. And if you don't have kids, perhaps $5,000 is more than enough to cover your monthly expenses. Just run the numbers and run the same equation. You'll see how quickly you can reach your financial goals in passive income per month. So that's what we're talking about when you run the numbers. That just to get you started. I haven't got into all the different strategies yet. However, just see the power of money and see how quickly your money can run. That's basically the definition of ROI, return of your investment. Because if you're able to generate a higher return on investment, your money can run a lot faster for you and run a lot faster with you. Like I said, it's not always easy. However, if you have a very strong why and you know why you're here today, even when you encounter a little bit of bumps along the way and some difficulties or even changes in the market, regardless, the market going up, down, sideways, you'll be able to navigate. So it goes back to you. Take a step back before you think about what strategies you want to get into, or even what your goals are. Find your whys first, and then you can decide what your goals are. The strong enough why is always the backbone of your structure, of why you're here today. So get very strategic about how to start. And it's really about taking action. I know that in the beginning, it's hard to see what's the steps in between my current situation and where I want to be. However, if you just want to take the first step, it will get you closer and closer there. So I want to show you examples and some of our stories as to how we got started. So you can see that along the way, perhaps there are a few things that resonates with you or similar to how you get started. I'm pretty sure a lot of us are parents, a lot of us are immigrants, and a lot of us are still working, and a lot of us still love traveling. And that's our why. Or you have a community you do want to support. You just want to make sure you have the financial resources to do it. At least have that taken care of. So I also want you to take a step backwards. What is your purpose? And if you're not clear at all, to be honest, I look for a purpose for the longest time because I didn't feel like anything was a big enough or strong enough why or purpose for me. At one point there is. However, what if the kids are grown? What if you're already reached that financial goal? What's next? And the easiest way to look at it is if money is not an issue, what do you want to focus on? What do you want to focus on if money is not an issue? I don't expect you to write it down right away if you never ever thought about it. If you have, we always ask you to write it down and make sure you look at it. If still that's not clear, make sure you look at our core values: health, sustainability, joy, fulfillment, and impact. Health, sustainability, joy, fulfillment, and impact. Whatever jumps out at you, what do you want to focus on today? And depending on where you are in life, perhaps something happened. Perhaps somebody in your family is dealing with some health issue and you do want to focus on health. Whatever it is, circle one that resonates with you the most to help you navigate through your goals, your whys. So that's one way of looking at it, because we want to make sure you focus your effort efficiently and strategically. And if that's still not getting you there, you still need a little bit of push. Our strategy coaches are there to get you started, to take you step by step. I'm going to take you step by step today as to how investors should get started. Perhaps my strategies are not the same as what you want to focus on while you're getting yourself started. If you're just thinking about it, it's a dream. If you envision it, it's possible. If you schedule it, it's real. I'll share something else with you when I listen to my morning motivation today, when I listen to Jim Rohn. I don't know if any of you listened to him, Jim Rohn. So what he said was, whenever you have an idea, act on it quickly, because when you have an idea and the motivation, that's when you want to take action. Otherwise, the momentum dies down. And it's just like running and starting a car. If you stop, it takes more energy to get started. So if you're here, you're already taking action. You want to keep that momentum going. So I'm going to take you step by step. If you don't know where to start, take a picture of the QR code and reach out to your strategy coaches. Or reach out to your mentor if you still want some clarity. By the way, your goals might be the same, but the way to get there might need to be modified along the way. So if you want some clarity, perhaps you want to start talking to your peers, or if you already have a mentor, speak to your mentor. And you can do that every year, every season. Look at it, and perhaps you want to pivot. And I do want to know why you're here today. So Winnie, can you pull out the poll? Everybody can see it on your screen? Yes? So get out of your job, accumulate capital so money can work for you, consistent cash flow, planning for retirement to create a legacy for my family. By the way, if you're creating a legacy for your church, your community, or the cause you're really passionate about, that could also be wealth, legacy, perhaps beyond your family. Okay. I think a few people are changing their answers, which is totally fine. And things might change if you look at it again a couple months down the road, or even a quarter down the road. So everybody can see the results now. Most people want to accumulate capital so money can work for you. Perfect. So you want to be the bank, or you want to be the money partner. And then the next answer is consistent cash flow. Okay, so everybody wants to work towards financial independence. When you have enough capital, when you're financial independent, meaning that all the money created through real estate investing is covering your expenses, whether it's cash flow or a lump sum of capital. And by the time your cash flow can cover all your expenses, that's when you declare financial freedom. So everybody's clear with that definition? Yes? So what we're going to do is to translate that into numbers as well as strategies as to what's the next step you're going to take. So I will focus on, since that's what most people are here for, I will focus on getting you to your financial independence goal and financial freedom goal. And if you're looking to take the next step, by the way, we're going to pack your schedule so the momentum will keep going as part of the community. Really, for us, it's a passion project. And we do want to take you to the next level. If you want to start the journey by starting with me, and the next one is live workshop in Toronto. We do want to see you in person. I highly encourage you to do that, because before COVID, I remember how everybody flew everywhere, because as investors, you can look at the market, most importantly, network and know the people. And Josh, you can take a picture of the screen. I see that you're scrolling through and you're taking notes of the dates. Everybody feel free to take a picture of the dates. If you're already part of the community, you receive an email of the calendar. So the next one, if you're able to come to Toronto live, that's 3 days from May 31st to June 2nd. I know for parents, that's the end of school year. So before you start your summer, you can get yourself educated and meet us. Every time we have a live workshop, there is a networking event on the second day afterwards. So that's when you meet a lot of people and meet some of us. So for example, Rana, you're in Edmonton, so is Winnie. Kevin is in BC. I'm from Toronto, and John is also from BC. So you're going to meet a lot of us in person. We're going to have a lot of fun. And there's a picture of the live workshop and also what it is like to be in different networking events. By the way, I know students are also organizing a lot of events themselves as well. And I do want to share this with you. It is a gift for me to be here and have the ability to pay it forward. So if you're existing students, I do see some of you here. We do want to pay it forward and spread the good words, share the wealth. So there is referral bonus for every successful referral. Also, if you want to bring somebody along with you, it is one admission for 2 people. So you can bring your business partner, your mom, your brother, your spouses, and even your kids to come to the workshop. And I do want to share that with you because Oprah, again, she believes that knowledge is not complete until you shared it. And this resonates with me, not just about the workshop. Same thing, that's how knowledge is passed down to the next generation. If it's gone, it's gone. So also I learned that we don't know how to fly to the moon anymore. because that knowledge is lost, even though we have the computer and the technology today. Again, knowledge is not complete until you shared it. I'm sure along the way, we've lost a lot of knowledge because people didn't share the wealth. Same thing with the pyramid. We don't know how to build it today. So we do want to share the wealth and share the knowledge. And that's why if you're here today, like I said, if you're sharing the learning today, even if you're just starting, that's where we share the wealth as well. So for today's agenda, I do want to go through the fundamentals as an investor and who we are at Trust Your Talent as well. For the time we have, and especially the topic we're talking about today, you don't have to quit your job. And to start, you don't have to do this even full time. So one of the things we ask all the new students to do is to look at how they want to manage their time, If you're telling yourself you don't have time, really look at how you manage your time today. And I say it to some of my mentees, even if you don't have time the whole day, what if your kids go to bed at 9? Can you spare 2 hours from 9 to 11? And that's how I started. My kids were young at the time. And I'm sure you'll be so passionate about it. Even though you allocate 2 hours, you'll stay up till 12 o'clock to study or to learn. Everybody can learn at different pace. However, everybody follows the same system. So no matter who you talk to on the team or even the student ambassadors, we all follow the same system. It might sound like broken record. However, that shows you that the system works, even though we're all different races, different age groups. I want to show you a system that works, even with one strategy or different strategies. So if you can run the numbers with this one strategy, I'm pretty sure you can also run the numbers for different strategies once you learn. So in the workshop, we'll cover different strategies. For the webinars, I usually focus on 1 or 2 examples. Regardless of which strategy, it all starts from you. What's important to you? Security, respect, or you do want to be part of the community. To me, I think it's very important to grow. So we focus a lot on personal growth because it starts from you. And like I said, what's your purpose? And what do you want to do, want to achieve? Perhaps you're doing this for the legacy you want to create. That's the first step. And think big. Really, there's no right or wrong answers. So every year, look at where you are. Perhaps you've already grown. You want to focus on something different. Then look at which bucket of income you want to focus on. Most people in the group today, we're talking about creating some capital. So you can be the bank and create passive income. By the way, if you're still working today, that is earned income. The easiest definition to me is you have to trade your time for money. That is your earned income. And I don't look at it negatively because I think people by nature want to contribute. So earned income is you trade your time for money. Financial freedom means that you can decide on how you want to spend your time. Even if you're trading your time for money, it's by choice. That's how I look at earned income. So if you look at strategies, what does it translate to and what do you want to focus on? Fix and flip, why is it earned income? Because you have to consistently look for deals, trade time for money to find more deals. So when you're accumulating capital, there's no right or wrong answer. I get that most people are here to create eventually cash flow. Perhaps you don't have the capital to start yet. That is okay because you can find partners like how we showed you, win-win and share the wealth. However, remember that depending on your time, if you don't have the time, you got to quickly learn how to accumulate capital. So fix and flip, or we call distressed property at Trust Your Talent. It's something you have to trade time for money. And if you're still working, then you're getting paid hourly or full-time or whatever time you're devoted to. In order to make money, you have to show up. So that's earned income. Passive income, the easiest way, or perhaps that's why a lot of people start to get into real estate, is the passive income from rent, for example. Whatever residual after expenses is, that is your passive income. So strategies including lease option, street name, rent to own, lease option can create really good passive income. Because if you're in the market or if you already own properties, usually people start from single family homes. And that's why a lot of people want to learn, because we realize that single family homes do not cash flow. If you just own one property and with mortgage rates, with all the expenses, if you still have mortgages on a single family home, it's hard to cash flow unless you pay off most of your mortgages, which means you didn't leverage the capital or leverage real estate. So lease option is one of the creative ways to make single family homes cash flow. Income properties could be multifamily, could be a single door, 2-door, 5 doors, and more. If you have a property that's negatively cash flowing every month, I don't think you should call it income properties. And that's why we're also focusing on creating wealth, not collecting doors. If you're negatively cash flowing and paying your tenant to live there, you're not creating passive income. So portfolio income, meaning equity. I know some people in the group are learning about paper assets. And also when it comes to real estate, if wholesale is one of the strategies you want to focus on, meaning that there is already money in the buy. It's already equity in it. That's portfolio income. Or if you have the capital today, or if you're sitting on a property, and that's how I started, because if you're in major cities, there's equity in the property because there's appreciation in the market. So you have equity, you have portfolio income. That's more like money in the piggy bank. You perhaps it's not utilizing it, or you're sitting on the piggy bank because you have to have a place to live. If you learn how to turn a negatively cash flowing or a liability into an asset, that is another class or webinar you can get into. Say, for example, you're being the bank, then you can utilize your piggy bank to create income. So portfolio income, earned income, passive income. Every year, we look at which strategies we want to focus on. That depends on your time. So if you have time today and you're really good at fixing and decorating a house, perhaps fix and flip is the strategy you want to focus on today. So SMP stands for strategy, and I'm going to pick on somebody rather new. Ronald?
So strategy, market, and property.
There you go. So once you have everything planned as to which bucket or where you are in your financial investing journey, you can decide on the strategy. Remember, the strategy has to work in the market you want to focus in. The last thing is the property. Most people focus on property first. And I can say that some people are lucky because especially we're in the market when everybody was moving in the market and housing is scarce. However, we're about having control and being an educated investor. A lot of people came to me with problems or issues that is hard to fix because they start from PMS. So if it's property first, you usually encounter problem as to you're speculating. You bought the property. What am I going to do, Brooke? So as a seasoned investor, perhaps you have more strategies and tools in your toolbox. However, it's always easier and it makes more sense to have the basement and foundation ready first instead of buying the property, live the property, and try to fix the foundation. Remember, this is about financial planning. So do it right and set your foundation strong. Another thing is short-term rental or mid-term rental. So I'll go through different income or cash flow that can bring you with different strategies. Earn income, because a lot of the time, short-term rentals are rather active income. You have guests that come in and out. You have to consistently clean and update your website, etc. However, it could also be passive depending on how you manage your portfolio. So first thing first, again, go back to yourself. Do you have a clear financial picture of where you are? This is a very simple income and expense sheet. So if you're not clear yet, I always encourage my students to start from here. This is not enough though. So perhaps you want to start from here and expand or create your own sheet. Regardless, the goal is for you to have a clear picture of where you are today. And I know that our financial picture might get a little bit more complicated as you accumulate more projects or more investment properties. So by show of hand, I'm not picking on you. I just want to know that you have a clear picture of where you are, your expenses and income. Yeah, Scott, you're the first one. Okay, perfect. So most people here. And understand what's asset and liability. So I can go through asset and liability for another 2 hours. For consideration of time, you can go to Trust Your Talent website. So episode season 2, episode 2. So watch Tim's video clips. Okay. There are so many different things you can learn from all the clips. We also want to talk about financial independence versus financial freedom. I will go through that as we go through the example. Income protection as well. So it's not about how much you make. It's really about protecting it and how much you keep. Also, if you don't plan, then you're really planning to fail. So make sure you do the planning. And that's why we spend so much time and focus on setting your foundation right. I already mentioned a few. We went through finding your why, finding your goals, and there's more to the core courses. CRM, your relationship management, and also once you're in the community, you'll have a lot of investors in your network. And all the students, it's like a university. We'll start from business fundamentals, and everybody will take financing and fundamentals with me, and also distressed properties. Because, for example, financing fundamental is what you'll need, since it's financial education, really. It's not really about fixing a distressed property or just collecting properties. However, distressed property is very important because we're talking about control. We don't wait for the market to appreciate. We talk about forced appreciation. So when you look at an ugly house, you're looking at money. You're not looking at problems anymore. It's not a problem anymore. You see dollar signs everywhere. So distressed property is a strategy you can basically use in any market. In any market. We talked about S&P. So if that is your strategy, remember that it is important to force appreciate and take control. That's why we said it as a fundamental course. Really Trust Your Talent wants to be an academy. We want to be the Harvard and the real estate investment education space. So again, without strategy, you have nowhere to aim. Without execution, strategy is useless. I'm in Taiwan, so Taiwan Semiconductor is one of the biggest business in Taiwan. And that's why people are so worried about Taiwan being attacked, because the know-how is really important. Nobody else in the world has that know-how. That's why the quote is important. I do want to share that with you. And perhaps you're on the same journey as me. I was born and raised in Taiwan. Actually, that's where I am right now. I'm in Taiwan. So I just experienced a pretty significant earthquake a few days ago. And once in a while, we still feel the aftershock. I still felt it about 2 hours ago. Regardless, my point is, you can do it anywhere. And you can be from anywhere in the world, or you could be an immigrant, or you could be new in investing. If you don't have any experience at all, it doesn't matter. I started my journey in 2016. So the end of 2016, actually. I started with basically no understanding and no investment in my portfolio because we were lucky. We were in Toronto. So the property value went up. However, I don't know how to leverage it. I just let the money sit there. And even if I have to borrow money at 2%, 3%, that scared the hell out of me. So when I learned about lease option, I thought, wow, this is really creative. I still liked my job at the time. So I thought, if they can show me how to replace my income, this is really creative. I want to give it a shot. I'm not very handy. I don't even fix anything at all at home. I don't hang any pictures. I don't even change light bulbs when I lived in a condo because the security or the management office could help sometimes. So I started with lease option. And again, you need to have different strategies in your toolbox. When I had the lease option, when I had more than one deal, I had to learn how to wholesale the deal. So wholesale basically means that just like Costco, you buy something cheaper. If there's still money on the table for the next person to take it over, then you can wholesale the deal. So as my portfolio grew, I start to get into distressed properties, creative financing, because I'm not the best at fixing things. Raising funds, by the way, if you have great deals, it's not hard to raise funds. So I actually raised quite a lot of funds and start to learn about investors in different markets. And even in Taiwan, I have investors here too. And because I realized that I'll show you how you can plan your strategies. There's short-term, mid-term, long-term strategies. I thought lease option, for me at the time, 4 years is a very long time. I realized that even lease option, once you start to be on the journey for a while, you still have to look for more deals. Then I start to look at long-term holds, multifamily or infill projects I'm going to have in my portfolio. However, sometimes you need time to stabilize. So for me to get into creative financing and lease option are ways for me to accumulate some capital to get me started. And both my husband and myself are working. So our income actually grew quite a lot after I stayed home with the kids for 10 years. I went back to work, but we didn't get any wealthier. Pretty much spent every dollar we made flying back to Taiwan to see my families and pay the activities for my kids. So I really want to learn how to create wealth, replace my income and not having to worry about it. So my goal at the time was just to have extra income and show myself that I can replace my income. And after financial freedom, we'll look for ways to, hey, share the good news. I don't want to keep it a secret. So I wrote a book because during COVID, we were home and I thought, okay, instead of telling everybody my story, I'll just write a book and share it and hand it out as my resume. And that's when Zoom started to get popular. So I learned to speak in front of the camera, also speak with a lot of energy because I want you guys to maybe stand up or have your cameras on, not just sit there. That's actually easy to do in a Zoom environment. So that's one thing that was challenging myself to do, because for me, speaking in front of people is crazy hard. It's crazy hard. If you knew how we studied in Asia, we were just taught to sit there and don't speak if you don't have to, even if you have to go to the washroom. So I learned to sit and listen. For me to speak up was kind of hard. But again, you grow. And if you have to have investors and tell people your story, share your deals, like I trust your talent. And we call it mastermind collection when we have deal labs to share our deals. You have to speak up. For me, that's part of the training too. So I want to show you the infill projects to show you that, hey, everything else is a goal. Then you translate it into a strategy and how it's going to take you there. So if it's an infill project, or for us, it's actually our home. We have to raise capital because the banks or the lender didn't fund for the build. So we have to accumulate capital. By the way, to build this, a lot of the properties I built or in my portfolio was sold because, hey, again, what are we going to keep the properties for? Really, it's about our goal. And another thing is we have to put in an offer that's going to cost us, say, for example, $100,000 more. What does that translate to when it comes to a deal? So say, for example, if you have to have $100,000 in order to build, to renovate, think of it as 2 wholesale deals. Find 2 wholesale deals. So every time you buy and sell, perhaps that generate 50,000. So that's how you set your goals. So for us, if we sell one property that generates say 100,000, that's how we accumulate additional capital. If I need to support a monthly mortgage of $500, to me, that's one lease option deal. So everything you do translates it to what is it going to do for you in terms of strategy, in terms of what you're going to do. So I love the community. That's beyond just money. So beyond financial freedom, I do want to be here with you. And you can see Winnie, Kevin, and John's picture there, my mentees in the community, my class, because I do want to give back. I think that we love the community for all of us, and even the student ambassadors is a passion project because it's not just about money. It's about your personal growth. You'll see that that's what we're about. We're about giving people the story, the inspiration. And I mentioned that I didn't know what my purpose could be. So I heard this and I'm going to borrow it. Everybody's purpose, everybody. I want to help you, inspire you, and make the world a better place. And you can translate it to whatever that resonates with you. You want to help your kids. You want to inspire your kids to be an example. And I hope that when we leave this planet, we're making it better than when we first arrived. So that is all. I do want to share something else I learned that just came up. Everybody's story could help everybody else to grow. It's either a warning or an example. That's not my word, but I love how they put it. If it's a warning, that means that you're an example to warn people what not to do. Perhaps you didn't grow this lifetime. Or being an example. I think as parents, we can really resonate with that. You don't really have to tell them exactly what you're doing, but they see that you're investing your time here. You're being an example. You show them that beyond school, you're still learning. I think that's an example we want to show. So I have the opportunity to share my story and my voice. If you want to learn about how to start, about lease option, about private lending, about branding, about being an immigrant, I'm sharing my story in a lot of podcasts, or if you just reach out, we can just chat. And that's why I love Trusted Talent. I want to be a part of it because it resonates with me. And I do want to make a difference in your life. I also mentioned to a lot of people that if you're here, if I'm not making a difference in your life, or we're not making a difference in your life, let us know. Then we're in the wrong business. And like what you want to do today. I know I asked what your whys are, why you're here. We want to help you create financial independence. Financial independence means that perhaps it's not cash flow monthly. However, if you're able to generate enough income through real estate to cover expenses to start, we want to help students to do that in 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years. That took me almost 4 years. But I see students building upon our knowledge, our time, our experiences. Students are able to do that even faster because Trust Your Talent is only 4 years old. We already created quite a few freedom fighters in the community. I see you on camera today. I do want to see you on stage and be that freedom fighter. You can envision that if that's your goal, if that's where you want to be. And what's different about us is we have curriculums in Canada and US. And like I mentioned, we want to be the academy like Harvard. That's why there are compulsory courses that you have to take, prerequisites you have to complete. Really, mentorship is a very big part of it because we're there to check your blind spot. So today, we have about 400 plus students and growing. We do want you to be part of it. So the support is there. Most importantly, I think momentum is really important. That's why the community is so important. If you feel like you're losing momentum and you want to be there with people who are educated, who have already done it, who have the energy you want to be a part of. We basically have events every week or every month. So after today, the next step is to join the workshop. And once you're part of the community, the next event's training is creative financing. So I will show you one creative financing strategy. So lease option or rent to own is actually a creative financing strategy. We pull it out as a strategy because you can just run with it and create financial independence or financial freedom, like how I got started. That's the strategy I focused on. The market has changed a lot. That's why what's different about Trust Your Talent is that we're all still active investors. We're all still active. So we know what's happening in the market. And of course, we talk to each other. We're all part of the community. And this strategy resonates with me because like any strategy, as an investor, you're not speculating. You're not speculating. You're creating deals. We are in control. And what's different is that tenants, they're not just regular tenants. They have stake in the game. This will be their home. They want this to be their home. And they want to be trained as homeowners once they can qualify, usually 2 to 4 years down the road. So we build a professional power team to set them up. Most importantly, your mortgage broker, because we're not professionals. Once you learn the strategy, you can filter and screen the tenants as to, I usually look at if they're committed, if they do want to be homeowners, And like any deals, if you're working with anybody, if one day you're the working partner or you're the money partner, you're really investing in your partners. In a lease option or rent to own situation, your tenants are your partners that you're going to work with for 2 to 4 years. And this is a condensed version of a lease option because, by the way, think about it as you're only given a certain time when you talk to an investor. A lot of the times when you sit in the boardroom, when you present a deal or a business, you're only given 5 to 10 minutes. And lease option is a 12-hour, 15-hour advanced class. You're going to learn the ins and outs of lease option deals. I'm going to give you the basics so you understand what it is. And this is how I usually present it to my investor. Sometimes they only give me 2 minutes or they don't want to learn a lot about it. However, be prepared. Always be prepared. Why do we call it lease option at Trust Your Talent? Because really, it's a lease contract with an option contract. Depending on your market, the lease contract is not any different than a regular lease contract. The option, also, I know a lot of people are getting into paper asset. Similarly to an option. Option is give the tenant buyer, the tenant who we qualify them as a future buyer, tenant buyer, option to purchase. Underline the option. They're not obligated to purchase a property. When you get into creative financing, there is agreement for sale. Then the buyer has the obligation. In a lease option situation, they have the option to purchase. They're not obligated to purchase. However, we have to make sure they're committed because they're putting extra investment beyond their regular rent. And because they have stake in the game, they are committed in most cases. And you're in control of the profit. So on top of the rent, there's option payment every month, additional monthly payments. That will be converted to down payment if they are qualified and choose to exercise their option. So we give the tenants the option to purchase. So there's a lot of legal terms in the lease and option contracts. So you will learn that in class. However, I'm here to tell you how to protect yourself and why this is a good strategy. So for investor, like I said, we're looking for cash flow. And because the tenant buyer put in initial, we call it initial option consideration, that basically says they have the option to purchase. By the way, not just about lease option. Any contract at least should have a dollar or money exchange in order to be effective. So even though it sounds like a fancy term, that just tells the tenant you have the right to purchase a property, and we call it option consideration. We have control because we know how much we're going to get at the end of the term. And the tenant choose the property. So I trust your talent. Remember, we choose the strategy first. We don't have a property usually and fit the tenant in the property to start a lease option. We usually let the tenant, we choose a strategy, we choose a market, and then we work with the tenant to choose a property. So there's no vacancy. So it's a home of the tenant choice, and it gives them 2 to 4 years to either repair their credit, build up their savings. I always say we can help them. So 3 things when you qualify for a mortgage: credit repair, down payment, and consistent income. We cannot help them find a job or provide them a job. Perhaps you could. I have attempted. However, the goal is to help them repair their credit and force them to save every month. Because the option consideration, again, I'll repeat the terms, will be converted to down payment when they decide to exercise their option and when they're qualified to do so. So I'll just give you the numbers, and usually it's a starter home. So I'll run the numbers with you. We're making profit every stage along the way. So during acquisition, I mentioned that they come in with option consideration. That basically means that they're committed and they want to have the right, the option to buy the property. With that money, you can decide on how you want to use it. Usually we help reduce the initial investment. So initial investment is money comes in as down payment, lawyer fee, land transfer tax, depending on the province, insurance, etc., or agent fees. So initial investment. So whatever the initial option consideration is, can come in and help reduce the initial investment. And cash flow every month. Cash flow is simply calculated by monthly rent and monthly option minus all the expenses. So that's your cash flow during the rent to own period. And at the end, we decide on the option purchase price. Depending on the market, we appreciate the property at 2%, 3%, 4%, 6%. I've gone as high as 7 or 8%, depending on the market. So again, we decide on the purchase price at the end already. So we know and we can calculate the profit because we know the sales price. We know how much we're getting every month. So initial option consideration, in this case, usually a starter home, roughly about 15,000. Remember that the more they put in, the more stake they have in the game. And if they put in a little bit in the beginning, that usually means that they might have to put in more every month in order to save up enough for the down payment at the end. So I'll run the numbers with you. In this case, 15,000 to come in, and every month monthly option is 1150 plus the rent is 2,400. All the expenses, so we usually call it PITI. So mortgage is principal, interest, insurance, and property tax. In this case, it's 1,900. So every month we can cash flow 1,650. If it's a 3-year program, I just simply times that by 36 months. Okay. And at the end, so the last stage of the lease option, the total proceeds at sales, meaning that you pay the lawyers, you pay off your mortgage, your proceed is 49,000 in this case. And in this case, the initial investment is 86,500. Again, the term ROI, return on investment. Return on investment is simply how much in, how much out. If you can get the profit of 49,600, divide that by how much you put in this deal. So how much you put in the deal is initial investment or initial cost minus initial option consideration that you have from the tenant to help with the initial closing. So after that, the investor or yourself just need to put in 86,500. So look at the numbers. It's not complicated. I try to simplify it. Just run the numbers with me because it depends on the property. In a situation where it's a starter home, this is usually the numbers you're looking at. A lot of the times the tenants are, remember, owner in training. Sometimes they already own a home in the past, so they have some idea. However, a lot of the times they're starters and you're helping them buy their first home, their first property. This is how I look at the tenant. I want to make sure they're committed. They're willing to invest in their future because again, it's 2 to 4 years, especially with tenants who have credit issues. They also have to use this time period to improve their credit in order to qualify for a mortgage. Are they coachable? Are they able to work with you? Basically, it's also financial training for the tenants. So will they follow, for example, the credit repair suggestions or actions we mentioned? And we also have to check on the tenants pretty periodically. However, you're not checking on the property. Remember, they're owners in training. They have to take care of most of the minor repairs, nothing major. So are they willing to follow the steps? So if we're just looking at the numbers as an investor, I mentioned that this is a number we're looking at. Cash flow in 3 years, 59,000, and profit at sales. So option purchase price minus the mortgage paid down and minus all the expenses at closing, the profit is around 49,000. So in this case, look at the number, it's 42% ROI, return on investment. Remember, I mentioned that this is about sharing the wealth. If you're not able to qualify for a mortgage, or if this is your second lease option, that's in a lot of cases where perhaps, Tim, you can qualify for 1 mortgage, 2 mortgages. However, if you're not a seasoned investor, or if you don't have enough income to support 3rd, 4th, 5th investment property for a lease option deal, like I mentioned, share the wealth 50-50. Even if that's the case, you both get 21% of return. Remember, we start the webinar with 20% of return. So just follow this one strategy and one plan. Assuming that this is a 3-year lease option deal. Okay, 3-year lease option deal. remember the numbers. So if you look at it, part-time effort. If you just do one deal per season. So if you look at the numbers, you find 4 deals every year. So can we do one deal every 3 months if you're slow to start? So let's just run the same numbers. It looks like a lot. However, I'm just repeating the same example. So first deal, you get 15,000. And every month, the cash flow is 1650. So if in the first season, you get 11 months of cash flow. Second season, so if you start the deal from April, you get 8 months of cash flow. So remember that in year 2, all the first year lease option are still giving you the cash flow you're looking at. So just run the numbers. It looks like a lot. However, we're just repeating the deal, 1 deal per season. If we do that consistently for 3 years, and remember that I'm even using a 50-50 JV. So run the same numbers in the 3rd year. Remember, starting from the 4th year, you're going to sell the property to the tenant because that's the end of the lease option. So you're going to get a lump sum once you accumulated enough lease option deals till closing. If you just repeat the same process, in the 4th year, you're going to accumulate 244,000. So same thing. I'm looking at 20% of return every year. Even if you don't have the money and you're looking for joint venture partners, this is how quickly your money can run. Okay, 21% of return. In 4 years, 244,000. So we use this example in quite a few different areas and in our webinars. It's okay if the first time you look at the numbers, just go through it with me because every lease option deal, if it's the same deal, similarly, a starter home, about $400,000 to $500,000. You get initial option from the tenant. By the way, that's considered income for the year. You get 15,000 for every deal and 1650 for every deal in terms of cash flow. You can share the wealth and divide that by half. So just run the numbers and see how much cash flow you can have. I understand that if it's your first time, it might look like a lot of numbers. I can tell you for myself, even after I took the lease option class, it wasn't until my refresher class, it finally clicked and I could finally run the numbers intuitively. So if it's your first time, don't worry about it. And call to action if you want to get the slides and run the numbers. So what if I tell you, you can also improve the return on investment? Let's assume you can use a credit card. It's not about how much it costs you, it's about how much it makes you. So let me ask you this. If I tell you you can make $1 million with $100,000 of investment today, right now, are you going to do whatever you can to find that $100,000? I would do whatever I can to find $500,000 to make that $1 million, even if that cost me, say, $10,000 or $100,000 to get that $500,000. I would do it because really it's not about how much it costs you. Think about how much it's going to make you. So I'm going to use really simple numbers and break it down for you because this is valid right now. You can get balance transfer from MBNA. So what if you can use the balance transfer and put the money in a deal similar to this? Let's run the numbers. So initial investment, based on the same example, 86,500, 3-year profit. So again, we're repeating the numbers again. Per year, you're making a profit of 42%. What if you use a balance transfer of $20,000, even if it costs you 1% of transfer fee? So you don't have to take out the $20,000 out of your pocket. You're borrowing that money from MBNA. You're paying 1% transfer fee. So your cost is $200 for the $20,000. And now you only have to pull out $66,700 out of your own pocket if you're the money investor. So again, how much does it cost you? That $200 of transfer fee. Return on investment now, divide that by 3 years. So again, your return on investment is the same. Same deal. 109. And now your return is around 55%. So that's the power of leveraging. That's the power of leveraging. And even if you don't have the 86,000, I'm sure if the deal is good enough, I'm sure if the deal is good, you'll find money to support it. I just want to show you the power of return on investment and how quickly your money can run if you know how to leverage. And I did go through one example and one strategy. Remember, this is about replacing your income. So even if you do not want to quit your job, like the title today, if you just put in part-time effort, remember the effort I mentioned earlier is 1 deal per season, 1 deal per season. So 4 deals per year. Every 3 months, that's it. If you're looking at different buckets of income, for example, I know that some of you mentioned that you want to accumulate capital. You want financial independence in the group. So if you look at different strategies, distressed property is usually earned income. However, remember that you're going to use different strategies. In one deal, for example, I'm giving you the example of, say, income properties. Perhaps it's not generating $150 per door yet. Remember, we put it in bracket after stabilization. What does that mean? Perhaps you found a property that's distressed. So you have to learn distressed properties to perhaps fix up the property. During that time, you might not generate $150 per door yet. Once it's stabilized, so you utilize distressed property as a strategy, fix up the income property to help you generate that $150 per door. By the way, a lot of the times, there are wholesalers selling distressed properties. So you have to understand how wholesale and assignment works. So you perhaps wholesale or buy a deal from a wholesaler, or perhaps you had too many deals. Now you're willing to share the wealth and sell the deals to somebody else. So perhaps you buy a deal from a wholesaler, you buy the income property, then you use distressed property as your strategy to have control. Distressed property, again, force appreciation in order to generate that $150. Or perhaps you're using that property as a midterm or short-term rental or service accommodation. I just want to show you how you can mix up different strategies. And sometimes you have to. And a lot of the times, actually, for all the strategies, you have to understand how financing works. I just showed you an example of leveraging. And that could be utilized in all different deals. So in every different strategy, you have to get the financing. Again, this is not just about buying and selling properties. We're focusing on financial education. And by the way, we're going to expand it to personal growth, mental health, etc. However, today, you're here today to just focus on not having the load of financial worries on your shoulder. And this is how we do it. If you look at different strategies, we started by designing your curriculum 3 by 3. Start with 3 different strategies. When we started Trust Your Talent, we were focusing on 2 strategies. Then we realized the market consistently changed. It's when people are stuck and not knowing different strategies and not knowing how to pivot that they start to having to sell or not having the ability to know what to do. I'm not taking advantage of other people. However, a lot of the times, that's when we solve the problem and pick up a lot of deals. After realizing that, now we're focusing on 3 different strategies to focus on for our students and also 3 different exit strategies. So perhaps you're buying a property thinking that, oh, I'm going to hold it. However, things change, life change, and you no longer want to hold it. So perhaps you want to sell the deal to somebody else. And I'm giving you one example as to how you can reach financial freedom or independence goals with 3 or more strategies. So in this example, you have one service accommodation deal, $500, and one lease option deal, and one distressed property. Perhaps you're wholesaling that distressed property deal for $25,000, or you bought the property, you fix it up, and you sell it, made a profit of $25,000. Regardless, when it's buy and sell, you don't have monthly cash flow. So in this example, you only have 3 deals that year. I'm not even asking you to have one per season, is one every 4 months, for example. So if you have 3 deals to start, that's your total annual return. And if you're focusing on financial freedom, remember financial independence and freedom. So if you want to have a lump sum in the first year, if you run really fast and work really hard, you're almost there in the first year. However, financial freedom is about having the cash flow to do so. So in the second year, you're still holding on to your service accommodation property. And now you're a little bit more experienced. Say, for example, you're able to find 2 distressed properties. By the way, that income property 5, that's only one property with 5 doors. So 5 doors, one property that generates $750 of income. Again, you only focus on 1 or 2 lease option deals. You have 1 new deal of lease option, you're still enjoying the cash flow of the other deals. So if you just run the numbers, it only takes about 3 years if you just follow the same system and the same path, using the numbers I showed you earlier as a guideline. So in 3 years, you can reach your financial freedom goal. You can run the numbers yourself, depending on if you have the capital or if you want to accumulate capital, if you want to focus on financial independence first, or if you want to focus on cash flow projects to reach financial freedom goals. So take a picture of it, or you can create your own table to set your own financial goals. And it's really about investing in yourself. Even though I showed you the numbers, take a step back. Learn how to do this. Learn how to use different strategies. We kept saying we're leveraging real estate. We're leveraging real estate. So really, it's not about fixing toilets, buying and selling, and just collecting properties. You're investing in yourself, so you know how to do this properly. And I don't know how you define freedom. I think it's really about spending the time with whoever you want, however you want, and be wherever you want and whenever you want. By the way, I got up at 6 a.m. just now because I want to be here with you. And this is how I choose to spend my time. No matter what people say to you, it's really about taking action to reach that financial goal. True freedom is really have the FU money. And however you want to look at it, to me, is to have the freedom. Even if you still have a JOB, that's your freedom. That's your choice to do so. So this year, Trust Your Talent, our theme is be about it. Because we don't just talk about it. Like I said, every one of us has to be active investors. Even our ambassadors, Richard, Kevin, Winnie, you're all active investors. And this came from the Queen herself. So that's the inspiration where it all got started. By the way, just to be honest, do any one of you have some doubt right now? I'll say I still have fear sometimes. And are there negative voices? Thank you for turning on the camera and having your hand up. Yes. So again, it's not always easy. It's not always smooth. If you have the know-how, at least you have more tools and more confidence. Knowledge for a lot of people is to gain that confidence. So even if you don't see the path yet, at least I showed you one actual example of my lease option deal. Somebody has done it. And somebody are still doing it today. I hear a lot of people are saying, oh, the opportunities are gone. That happened 10 years ago. The same thing won't be as easy today. No, it's not going to be as easy. However, ask yourself, are you strong enough? Is it too hard? Or you're not strong enough or smart enough when the situation is hard? And that's actually the map that we're following today. And it all starts from you. So if it's not clear yet, maybe draw that down. It starts from you as to where you are and how you want to allocate your resources to focus on your equity, passive, or earned income. You can have all different buckets because all millionaires on average have 7 different streams of income. So I think we showed you at least 5 or 6 hard strategies for you to generate different streams of income. And I'm sure you can leverage the same knowledge in your business and your different areas of life as well. Because a lot of the times, the same muscles, the same knowledge will help you elsewhere in your life. And I do want to mention that, hey, you're going to be consistently running and train yourself, and I'm still learning. Every time we have the course put out, there's always updates. There always is. I think that's why it's so interesting, and we're always being really creative. Actually, that's what I love about real estate, because if you're handy, you can focus on distressed property if that's what you love. If you love numbers, creative financing, and learn how to create, design different deals, how number or money works. So that's where we are. We are here in the center to make sure you're in the right direction, even though you have the training. And we do have a big support group in the community to support each other. And I hope I do provide some motivation for you here today, regardless of where you are and what you're doing right now. If you don't know what your goals are yet, I hope we have provided some tools for you to look at what your goals are. And a lot of the times when you speak to some of our strategy coaches, they'll direct you or they'll guide you. And by the way, even doing the mentorship, students would come with a lot of homework done, and still sometimes we have to pivot and update and modify what the goals are. The why and who you are might not change. However, we might have to pivot if we can provide some clarity. So that's how we do it. Investor mindset, by the way, it's always in the background. So that's why we spend so much time focusing on get your foundation stronger and set you up right. Again, if you haven't booked a time with our strategy coaches, speak to one of them, and at least they will get you started and take you along the journey with us. I hope this is the starting point, and perhaps you're already investing. Perhaps you're just here to improve your portfolio, regardless of you already have some money to invest or you're looking for capital. It doesn't matter. Remember the 50-50 wealth sharing. You can be on either side of the journey. I do want to remind you that we consistently have different events ongoing every month because we want to keep the momentum going. And the community is just here. We want to see you. And I know all the students want to meet each other, regardless of being virtual or in person. And if you haven't been to a workshop yet, this is what it's like. So I haven't met some of you in person yet. This is not the first time I see this video. Every time I see it, I still feel the energy and do want to see you all in person one day, even though people are so used to being virtual. So I'll open up the floor for everybody here, and thank you for turning on the camera. I see a lot of faces today, so thank you for the energy. I love that. I haven't got a chance to look at all the chat questions yet. So any questions, or I just want to hear your voice. I just want to hear your voice. And Thank you, everybody, for participating, and Winnie and Richard and Kevin for answering the questions. Yes, there will be recording. And if you want to follow Daily Dose with Tim, there is your QR code. And I do want to hear your feedback. I have some time here, and I see some of your faces still here with me. Scott, thank you for the hand up. Any questions, comments, concerns?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Brooke. I attended my first TYT workshop this past weekend in Richmond with the gang. I think a couple of them are probably on this webinar now, and I just wanted to say thank you for all your energy you're putting into this. And yeah, I found you guys, I think 6 months ago, and I've been diving into your content and keep the motion going with it. I'm hoping to join as a membership shortly down the road. And
thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
it's been everything I've been looking for all wrapped up in one.
Thank you. So can I ask you, what's your biggest takeaway after the workshop?
My biggest takeaway is I guess I'm finally getting an understanding of the investor cards. I haven't utilized them in this manner, but I see the creative financing, and I guess I would like to get closer to that to see how the actual watching it go from A to B sort of thing, and
I
how
see.
many cards you could do that with, and yeah, and like with the deal.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'll see you in my creative financing class, Scott. We'll go through that as well. So I'm glad you see the beginning of how you can leverage. The example I was using, that was just one investor card I found. So yes, there are opportunities like that. Thank you. Josh and Caesar, because I didn't pick on you yet. Josh, you go first. Caesar, next.
I'm currently enrolled in paper assets investment, and I'm currently in the foundations program. I just joined tonight to kind of get some more insight on different ways, and I am currently working, as you can see me ducking down and listening. So I'm at my job. I have no problem with working. I just would like some extra income, and with starting paper assets, to use some of that profit to go towards real estate, like fix and flips, and I potentially would like to get into lease options as well.
Perfect.
And I just wanted to say thank you. It's great being a part of this community. Everybody's always welcoming and answering questions. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Josh, for sharing and investing your time, even when you're working. By the way, which city are you in? BC?
I live in Tilbury, Ontario, but I work in Windsor, Ontario.
Wow. Okay. Commitment. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for being there. Caesar.
Hello, everyone. I'm ready. I already attended the last weekend this workshop. It
you
was
met Scott.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes, it was amazing. I learned a lot of about the experience of all the persons that share their experience. So that's why I continue following these meetings, because I want to be part of the community involved in any program. But right now I'm checking what is my option to start this amazing program.
I see. So Caesar, who is your strategy coach?
Not yet. I don't have any strategy coach. Just Andy. I was talking with him about my financial goals, and he knows just a little bit more about me. So that is my first step with him.
Oh, okay, perfect. You're in good hands. So, and you're already taking the first step.
No, it's not Andy. Andrew. Sorry.
I knew who you mean. You can call him Andy. And you met Kevin as well, and Scott.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Caesar, for sharing. Carmen, I meant to ask you first because ladies first. I don't mind if you had to grab dinner. So unmute yourself and let us know comments, concerns, takeaways.
Brooke, I thought it was really good. You present very well. You cover everything. So there really shouldn't be a lot of questions. I just had one with respect to lease options.
Oh, okay.
What happens to the money if the client backs out of the option section?
You mean if they don't want to exercise their option to purchase
Like
at the end?
if they've said at the beginning they want to exercise the option, so they're making payments. And then at the end, they decide they don't want to.
Oh, okay. So usually what happens, this is how I handled it in the past. In the contract, it will say that we will cover all the expenses if they don't decide to purchase it, meaning that I have to sell the property, I have to clean it up, I have to perhaps pay lawyer, etc. to deal with it.
Right.
So it's, in a lot of cases, it's 4 or 5% of fees to the agent if I put it up on the market to sell.
Right.
So that's where the option money will be used at the end.
Okay, so you wouldn't give it back to the tenant then?
We let them understand that no, you're not going to see the money back because we have to
Okay.
cover the expenses, and this is a property of your choice.
Okay,
So that's in the contract.
that's what I thought when we did our first lease option deal, we did it the same way. And just advised them that, with respect to the money they were putting in for the option portion, that they would not receive any back if they decided not to go through with the contract.
Mm-hmm. Or give a $1 back. I've heard people giving $1, $2 back as a gesture.
Yes.
Or yeah, there are different things we can do. In some cases, we're not there to take away their equity, but in some
Right.
cases we made there's a lot of equity in it.
Yes.
Then I don't mind helping them secure a rental property, pay their deposit for a month for them to move out, things like that.
Yeah,
But it
agreed.
really depends. It really depends. Yeah. Okay. So not a lot of questions. Ronald and Amber. And I love your intro video, by the way. Comment, inputs, takeaways, thoughts, suggestions.
No, nothing much. We are going through the REI fundamentals course right now, hoping to finish so we can take creative financing with you coming up. Yeah, so we're just interested in finding how we can build funds and stuff for these deals. And then with us working through lease options, one question of mine, again, it's kind of a lot of the in-between steps, right? It just seems hard, again, to know how to get started, to reach out, to build your team and everything. So just kind of working our way through all that right now.
Okay. I'll suggest you watch the newest financing fundamental, because sometimes things change and updates, etc. So watch just the latest one, if that helps.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So thank you. Everybody has been so kind, giving us encouragement and positive feedback. I'm open to suggestions or any question you may have. I won't take any more of your time. Thank you for sharing. If you still have questions, all of our email at Trust Your Talent, all the trainers and mentor, is just our first name at trustyourtalent.ca. If you want to take action, ask questions, or just ask for the presentation file or even the income statement. So we're here for you. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your time with me. So I do hope to see you in the next class, or if you're going to be at the workshop, we'll see you live. So take care, everybody. Thank you.